morning. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go over to YouTube and check on the feed. All right, check 1, 2, 3. All right, sounds pretty good. I'm at 50%. All right. Nice. Okay. I think that should do it. All right, so let me set up some engagement stuff here. I'm gonna have to go get my Kindle during the sprint. Okay. All right. Okay. It's early. I don't anticipate anybody to be here for a while. I'm going to get the sprint timer going. Excuse me. All right. Let's share screen. Okay. Okay. Oh well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take us into a sprint, let people show up, and we'll reconvene after. Cool. What's up, y'all? Um, I don't believe there's anybody in the chat right now, but we're on a break anyway. Um, I'm not crazy about my Wi-Fi. I wonder if it's on the wrong one because I have two. Yep, it was on the wrong one. Let's switch over. All right. Let's see if that does us a little better. Hey, Kendra. Is it Kendra or Condra? I got to be honest, I'm kind of hoping that it's Condra because of the Condras in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. But that's nerd stuff. That's nerd stuff. Good morning, Kendra. Welcome. I hope you're well. I'm gonna get rid of some of this stuff. Clear out the muck. And so we're on break number 1. 10 minutes. Now, normally, Kendra, I am pretty. Kendra, right? I had it right the first time. Okay. Well, a guy can dream. So, typically, I am pretty hardcore about the Pomodoro thing on here when I sprint. I make sure to stick very strictly to the timer when there are folks in the chat because it means that they are relying on me for their productivity. However, if it's slow or if during the break the conversation is going on live and it gets away from me, I'm not going to be so, strict about it today. We're playing it kind of loosey goosey. Trying to get a good height here. It's cutting off my head. Kendra, hi. I'm Adrian. I write sci-fi fantasy for adults, and I'm working on my second novel today. I'll also be doing some reading sprints myself, but my Kindle's downstairs. I'll get it later. Either way, welcome. Oh, let me see. I wanted to edit something here. Let's see, where is it? It's probably in settings. This is a new streaming platform for me, so I'm still learning it. Perfect. Okay, that's already set. All right, cool. So we've got about 6.5 minutes left on this break. What are you working on, Kendra? Oh, cool. Okay. So middle grade and YA sci-fi romantasy. Very cool. So I write sci-fi fantasy. My world is a sci-fi fantasy world, but the plots that the characters are all on vary. So it's kind of a genre bender. It's a big cast, ensemble cast, lots of POVs, that kind of deal, and definitely a big romantic subplot in the first book. And there's always going to be like a romantic subplot. I think I like putting those in there, um, especially with such a big cast. People are bound to gravitate towards each other, but cool. That's awesome. Middle grade and YA sci-fi romantasy. We are kindred spirits, just in different categories. I'm way up here in the adults where things get spicy. And I'm also a dad, so I do hope in the future to write some kids' books. Um, but, that's in the future. Writing a 7 book series, finishing book 6 at the moment. Oh, so you are experienced. I'm still drafting until they're all drafted, and then I'll revise. Oh, interesting. Wait, so am I to understand that you're writing the whole series first and then releasing? Very cool, very admirable. That's definitely one way to do it. I don't know that I would have the patience to do that. Um, Let me see. That's why I write where I write. My kids love reading my work. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, no, my kids know not to read my work. Eva, welcome. Good morning. That's wild. Writing the whole series first. That's wild. There's so many like pros and cons because I considered this myself. Um, in my opinion, the big pro obviously being you have a finished work that you can release in a very timely manner, creating buzz, driving sales up. All of that is awesome. The thing I worry about is that I enjoy the reader feedback along the way. Um, I come from like, not that I ever worked in television, I've never worked in television, but I come from that mentality of like a collaborative kind of thing where not that the writers are collaborating with the audience, but that there's like an energy there that you can play with. Um, so, for example, in my first novel, I sent the first few chapters to some beta readers, well, technically alpha readers at that point, hadn't even been edited yet, close friends, family, stuff like that. And one of my friends gravitated towards a side character that I created just to facilitate a particular scene, but they loved that character. And when I asked why, they were able to say exactly why. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good character. And lo and behold, that character is now a big side character in that first book and will ultimately be a main character in her own adventures. So I fear that the loss of that, you know what I mean? The loss of opportunity to make a good thing even better. Like I said, pros and cons to both sides, right? Oh, man, y'all showed up. Okay, hang on. Okay, let me see here. What do we got? All right, that looks kind of spammy. I don't know what that is. Oh yeah, we're streaming to both YouTube and Twitch today, and I don't know what's going on Twitch. It's I have no idea. I don't have the feed open. I'm not. I don't know. So whatever madness is happening on Twitch, that's none of my business. I also started a series and have 3 of the 4 books drafted. Originally was going to be 6 books, but got shorter. Shorter is good. Mine just keeps getting longer. Mine started out as a short story that became a novel. The novel became a trilogy. The trilogy became 5 novels, and now I have plans for short stories and novellas in between for like a total of like 15 books in the series. It's nonsense. I just need to finish book 2. Um, yeah, Kendra, so am I. I went indie for my first novel, uh, self published, did that. I'm working on novel number 2, and I decided I'm going to go trad pub. Um, and hopefully, not just traditionally published, but hold on. Looks like my feed froze. Oh no. It's the camera. One sec. All right. I think I'm back. So, what was I saying? Camera's been doing that today. I don't know what's up. Yeah, so I'm gonna go traditionally publish. I'm currently seeking literary agents, and I sent out a big deal query letter yesterday. Somebody that I really have my eye on. I'm really hoping bites. So we'll see. the breaks up, but like I said, we're playing it a little loose today. We'll start our next sprint in a minute. The story already exists fully, it just isn't all written down. I also want it to be a trad option, but not even the one I hope to query. Interesting. That's such a writer thing, right? Uh, Hang on, guys. I don't know what is happening. It keeps doing that. I really don't understand it. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to close the YouTube feed. Hopefully that gives. Nope. Frozen already. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Uh, might have to go camera free for a little while, but no big deal. Um, that's such a writer thing, though, right? Like, oh yeah, I have the whole story. I just have to write it down. Some things are their best self because of the lack of influence from the masses, too. That's true. That's absolutely true. Like I said, I mean, you look at some of the best single seasons of television, True Detective season 1, for example, where like an auteur just shows up with a fully formed idea, writes the whole thing out, gives it to an auteur of a director who has an idea, does the whole thing. Like, can't beat it. Can't beat it. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. That makes total sense. If you're an editor telling me to change something because they don't understand how it ties into another book, this way I can show them. That's fair. I ran into that myself with my editor in book 1, though, where she would clash up against something. She's like, "Why is this here? This doesn't seem relevant." And I would then be able to be like, "Well, later on in the series, in book such and such, this is important because of X, Y, and Z." And the advice that she gave me, which was very good advice, was it's all well and good to set something up here that pays off later. However, in order for it to not stick out like a sore thumb and be a nitpick for people who haven't read that book yet, it has to matter to this book as well. So you have to find this interesting trick where you're planting something for use in the future. However, the planting of it has to feel like it fits in the story. The planting of it has to feel like a piece of the current story so that it doesn't derail the reader. So keep that in mind. That's again one of those things that like editors will help out with where you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Um, that's none of our business over there. Yep, I froze for a while. Been having some freezing moments. Um, thank you for. I don't know if that's for me or her, but for both of us. I understand querying a series is harder than a standalone. It's middle grade also, and though indie would be fun and isn't off the table, I'd be a lot. It'd be a lot of work to get into schools and things. So yeah, and I get that. Querying a series would probably be a lot harder. I mean, if you have the completed work, less so, right? Like if you have the completed work, it's going to be a lot easier to sell than the promise of future books, right? But if you sell the book on the merit of itself, regardless of the fact that it's part of a series and there will be more books down the line, this book itself is good enough to publish. Like that's how I'm approaching it anyway, because I'm querying my second novel and it's book 2 of a series, right? So uh the understood, like inferred, undertone there is that, well, if you buy the second book, the first book, we can re-release that, keep it as part of the series so everything is cohesive, maybe re-release it with a new cover or give it a fresh edit, something like that. So I'm technically trying to sell 2 books, not 1. But I'm focusing on book 2. And along the lines where it's relevant to mention, yes, there is a book 1, yes, it's already out. I do that. Um, but I'm very focused on this book standing alone on its own, which is also how I write them. Obviously they're part of a series. There are characters that you are following through, obviously, but I try to write each book with its own beginning, middle, and end to like stand alone on its own. So, but that's basic stuff. The novel I want to query is a standalone portal fantasy. It's zero drafted with oh, you have a zero draft done. Cool. I have a zero draft done too. I thought you were saying it was 0% drafted. With the last act being about 2 pages. So long way to go to hit first draft. Yeah, my book too, the first draft is about 20% in, but I do have a solid zero draft. So cool. Smart. Excuse me. Excuse me. Zero drafts are part outline. Yeah. Yeah. When I say my zero draft, I'm referring to an outline that's kind of so big that it's a zero draft. You know what I mean? Like it's not big enough to be a draft of the novel, but it's way too big to just be called an outline. This series has a complete plot in each book and an overarching plot for the series. Sort of forgot about it until now. All right, so it looks like we've caught up. So this is a good time to hop into the next sprint. I'm going to get some work done. Haven't written much this year at all. It's been a weird year. I did re-outline a different adult fantasy story, but lost momentum before I got into drafting. I hear you, Ava. The last 12 months was really hard for me as well, and I didn't get as much writing done as I wish I did, um, or as I should have, had I been in a better frame of mind uh, or sound body. Um, yeah, yeah, it's been a rough year. Um, I feel like I'm playing catch up. You know, by now I thought book two would be out in stores, and like I said, I'm about 20% through draft one, so way behind. But um, that's writing. That happens. You know, I'm saying too much. Let's go back into the sprint. All right. All right, y'all. Happy productivity. All right, y'all. Um, so my camera is still being super weird and freezing up on me. I don't really understand why. It's not the Wi-Fi. I don't have too many things open. I don't have a lot of things running, so I don't know. I'm probably going to cut this short to try to figure that out. Um, as far as the work done today, I ran into the issue that I tend to run into when I'm sprinting, as far as hosting a sprint, which is I can't get into that like creative mind space where I can write. So instead, I shifted gears to my work on my uh, query letters. Uh, I was looking at today's agent from my list, and everything she wants, everything I have to offer, is on her list of wants. However, at the very, very end of her page, it says, for word count, she hopes to see. And under adult fiction, she has between 70 and 100,000 words. Now, she has parts. I'm just going to turn the camera off because fuck it. Um, so, in other parts of her page, she expressly states things that she definitely wants and expressly states things that she definitely does not want. But the wording here is she hopes to see 70 to 100,000 words. I am well but beyond that at 150, and that's on my low end. So I'm nervous to send to her because the thing with these agents, you don't want to seem disrespectful. You don't want to seem like you're ignoring what they're requesting. But again, it's the word hopes. She hopes to see. There's wiggle room there. I'm not sure. So you guys give me your opinion. If I'm hitting like 90% of her criteria and this one thing is not really jiving with her, should I still try or should I just not waste her time and mine, right? Let me know. 887 words, but forgot my coffee. Be right back. 887 words is outstanding. Well done. Well done. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with this camera thing. It's bugging me. Thank you. Yes, I agree. I am inclined to agree. Here, let's go through the things that she's looking for that I have. All right, science fiction, literary sci-fi. Let's see, epic stuff, fantasy, mysteries, genuine magical realism, queer romance, alternative relationship structures like polyamory, all of that is in my book. Speculative fiction that falls between the genre cracks, that's also me. Um, she's looking for unprecedented own voices. I don't know if I am one of those, but I would like to think so. Um, let's see. Neurodivergent characters, characters with agency, LGBTQ plus and non-binary characters, sentient non-humans. I have all these things. I have all these things. Not looking for nonfiction, graphic novels, horror. Yep, none of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're a good match. There's other things too, but yeah, hopes to see has wiggle room. I think. Thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Excuse me. Yesterday, I sent out a query letter to like my number one choice guy. This is the dude that I hope beyond hope and wish against wish that he jives with me and makes me an offer. Um, because Yeah, I don't know. As much as uh, I'm jiving with today's pick, yesterday's. I worked on his letter for like a week. I sent out like 6 or 7 other letters in the time that it took me to write his because I wanted to nail it, you know, um, and sent him the first 3 chapters of my next book as per his request, and we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Response time is 8 to 12 weeks. But I'm hoping that it comes sooner than that, and I hope that he's wowed by my writing and wants to partner up. That's the hope. That's the hope. Excuse me. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a day on account of all these tech difficulties. Um, they're bugging me, and they're keeping me from getting work done. And I'm gonna do some more research on today's agent, uh, and start crafting the perfect letter for her. Wish me luck, you guys. Good luck to you on your writing. Thank you for joining me for the short time that I was here. Sorry to cut it short, um, but yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks again. Peace out.